But today, the South Carolina Emergency Management Division working around the clock to prepare for this storm.
News 19's Jacob Reynolds is at their headquarters with the very latest. He's had an opportunity to sit through that governor's press conference. He joins us now with the very latest. Jacob.
Well, Darcy, that's right. It was a loaded press conference as Governor Henry McMaster addressed the media and the public, along with 8 other government and public agency officials. And he warned that they are taking all the precautions they can, but he urged South Carolina residents to be ready.
3 main things. At noon tomorrow, September 11th, I have already ordered the mandatory evacuation of all people in all of the evacuation zones. And you see them there on that map. You see all those different colors. That's almost all of the counties along the coast. It affects all 8 counties, and I will read them. You see those zones, and the darker the colors, the more danger there is in those zones. There are 8 counties: Jasper, Beaufort, Colleton, Charleston, Dorchester, Berkeley, Georgetown, and Horry. There are plenty of ways you can go online and find out exactly where your zone is. You can call the authorities, but as of noon tomorrow, I'm ordering a mandatory, not voluntary, but mandatory evacuation of everybody that is in those zones. Now, how are we going to get everybody out? We issue an order for that too. At noon tomorrow, we're going to reverse the lanes on 4 big roads leading from the coast. There are a lot of evacuation routes on different roads leading from the coast, and you can find them online right here with the Emergency Management Division and other places as well. But there are 4 on which we're going to reverse the lanes so that all of the lanes will be leading out. Starting at noon tomorrow, you can't go to the coast on these roads. You've got to come away from the coast. And they are I-26 leading from Charleston all the way to Columbia will be one way, and that's away from Charleston. Highway 501 in Myrtle Beach will also be reversed, leaving Myrtle Beach, not going to Myrtle Beach. Then highways 278 and 21 in Beaufort County will be ready for reversal with people standing by at noon, and we'll make the decision then whether to reverse at that moment or to do so later. So those are the 4 roads that will be reversed. I've also issued an executive order to get people out of the way and to make way for the people. It'd be about 1 million people we think will be leaving the coast trying to escape this big hurricane. About 1 million people. So we have to clear the roads and get people out of the way so these can come through. And also, by closing some of these offices, the people in those offices, those state offices, can work in the emergency management capacities that they already work in. I've ordered the closing of government offices, state government offices, not county, state government offices, not municipal, but state government offices in 26 counties, except for essential emergency personnel. Those counties are shown in red here. There's 26 of them, and I'll read them to you. These are in alphabetical order. They're Aiken, Allendale, and these offices will not be open tomorrow at all. The schools, the state offices and the schools will not be open at all tomorrow. The roads and all those are for 12 noon tomorrow. But these offices, state offices and schools in these counties won't open at all. Those people need to be preparing for this hurricane. Aiken, Allendale, Bamberg, Beaufort, Barnwell, Berkeley, Calhoun, Charleston, Colleton, Clarendon, Darlington, Dillon, Dorchester, Florence, Georgetown, Hampton, Horry, Jasper, Lexington, Lee, Marion, Marlboro, Orangeburg, Richland, Sumter, and Williamsburg. We don't want the school children in harm's way. We're going to have to use some of those school buses, so we have to close the schools. We're going to need some of those schools for evacuation shelters that'll be set up, so the school has to be out. And as I say, in the state offices, there are a lot of emergency personnel who work in state offices who will be on the scene tomorrow working with the team around South Carolina to keep things safe for the rest of us. The county governments will decide when, and the municipal governments will decide when to close their offices. One more thing is the I've issued the order already, and it is in effect for a mandatory medical evacuation of all hospitals and medical facilities, and that includes nursing homes in these areas in the earlier map, the evacuation areas, evacuation zones. They are to begin moving already. We issued that order earlier today.
Well, and we want to give you a timeline of what's going on tomorrow because we know that was quite a lot of information. But like we said, the 26 counties that he named there alphabetically will not have school, nor will state government offices be opened except for emergency services. Then at about 8, the Department of Public Safety will begin clearing I-26 here in Columbia, headed towards Charleston in an effort to turn that highway completely coming westward towards Columbia from the coast. They'll also do that with Highway 501 leaving Myrtle Beach. There's 2 other state highways they'll consider doing that with at noon if they feel the need is there. And like we said, at noon, those highways will be completely inverted to come towards inland South Carolina to help those evacuations. And we just heard that around 2:30 tomorrow, we are expecting another update from the governor here at the emergency management offices, and he will update the progress of those evacuations and any other pertinent information for South Carolina residents ahead of this storm. In Columbia, Jacob Reynolds, News 19 WLTX.